spilling with beauty and goodness. I pour it out as a song to my King, shaping the rivers into words. What grace pours from your lips. The sound calls the midnight to morning. The melody turns my winter to spring. I echo it now in my worship. I echo it now in my worship. 10,000 strong, you're the fairest of all, fairest in heaven and earth. Of the children of men, you're the fairest of them, fairest in heaven and earth. Your heart bursts at the seams, flowing with blood and with water. A song of love pouring out from the tree, singing for the joy set before me. For the joy set before me. 10,000 strong, you're the fairest of all, fairest in heaven.
Time for questions and answers. We okay? I'll proceed as.
We might not, let me see something. Hang on. Oh, there we go. Okay.
We're good?
Now we have sound.
Okay. I think we have our sound issues resolved now, so I'll go through just briefly again. We are going to have an opportunity for questions and answers tonight, and you can use the Q&A box that is in your Facebook Live, or if you're having trouble with that or you don't see that, you can also use the comment section. We will get those up as well. So please feel free to leave your questions and comments. Ali Belsky is with us here tonight. We'll be moderating that, and she will be sure to get those questions to us as well. And if there is something even for specifically youth ministry, she might be able to answer that along with it. So, The main thing that we want to share with you tonight, that is a big announcement for us and for the church. Based upon our survey results from the online survey we took last month, and statistics that we have been seeing from the surrounding community, comparing with other United Methodist churches, and also acting on the advice of our insurance company and others, we will not be returning to in-person regular worship on Sunday mornings for the duration of 2020. Now, I realize that for a portion of folks that this is a disappointment, and we understand that. But for a majority of our people who have answered the survey, and also those who we have had some personal feedback with as well, what our goal is to provide the best possible and safest possible way for us to be able to worship together and to bring you the highest quality of service that we can bring so that we can fulfill our mission, which is to make disciples of Jesus Christ, and how we can share through our mission statement to recognize Christ in everyone. Now, we could try to go back to some sort of, as Andy Stanley uses, in-person-ish type of worship. However, it would be very limited. You would not be able to sit where you normally sit, and we would not be able to do the things that you would normally be accustomed to doing here on a Sunday morning. And so, based upon your answers and our own research, we feel that this is the best way for us to move forward. I want to take a moment now as we expound upon that to show some of the results from the survey that we did take in this past month. We had the survey that was opened for a period of 2 weeks, as a matter of fact, and we're going to get those slides up on the screen. And there are two key questions here that we specifically had narrowed down, so that would give us the information that we needed in order to make these particular decisions and help us to inform how we're going to move forward for the rest of the year. The first one is this: when would you be willing and comfortable with opening the church to in-person indoor worship? What we're talking about here today. As you see on the graph, 88.7% are not ready to attend in-person indoor worship at this point. Now, as we break down those demographics even further, we can see that people are in somewhat slightly different spots given the options that we had. However, all of them together tell us a very good story that at this point, here as we come to the end of September and the 1st of October, we're just not ready to do that yet. 11.3% of you said that you would be ready to come back as soon as possible. Again, we know that there are some who are just ready to come back right now. A lot of us are ready to do a lot of different things, and we understand that and we respect that. And we hope you'll respect where the large majority of everyone else is as well. Moving along from a progression, we had asked at what point would you be comfortable, and we had a series of responses. 19.6% of you said you would be ready to come back when the daily COVID cases per day drops. Now, we have seen our cases on the rise in terms of numbers that are being reported in the state, but one thing we do know is from Dr. Caldoun is that the number of tests that have been done have increased and almost doubled, at least according to the last news conference. And we have been staying in the positive test ratio of 3.5% to 4%. Now, according again to Dr. Caldoun, you want that to be down to 3% before the state as a whole would move into phase 5. And at this point, we're still in between that 3.5% to 4%. So we really have not seen the daily cases really drop in any significant manner like we were earlier. 32% of you, nearly a third, said that you would be ready to come back when the governor moves the state to phase 5. Now again, there are certain restrictions that are being lifted in other areas, particularly now around movie theaters and concert venues and the like. But again, those are restricted to their capacity levels and still have to practice safe and social distancing. So, and yet again, the governor has not moved us into phase 5, and so we see that response there. 6.2% of you, smaller percentage, said you were not ready to come back until 2021. That's based on all this information, however, what we're going to be looking at going forward. The larger statistic, not quite 2/3, but very close to that as well, 30.9, almost 31% of you said you would be ready to come back when COVID has a cure or a vaccine. And it's going to be well into 2021, as the experts are saying now, before we have some sort of vaccine. Whether we have a cure or we can call it that, we're not going to split hairs on that. So based upon that, when we look at where all of our numbers are and what phase that we're in right now, it is best for us as a church, it's best for us as a staff as we plan for our worship and other programming to have a clear direction of what we're going to be doing, as opposed to taking things on a month-to-month basis as we have. So based on these responses and also the other data that we have, we are going to be staying online for regular worship throughout the rest of this year. Now, there's another piece that we also want to correspond with that I think is very important as well to point out. And that question was, when the shelter in place is lifted and COVID-19 has begun to decline, however that happens, which response best describes your intentions? 33.7%, just about a third of you said, the first day of the relaunch, you will be back. And you know what? When we do that, we will be glad to have you back when that day comes. More than a quarter of you said that 28.6%, as you see the graphic now is there on the screen as well, said that you would be willing to come back 30 to 90 days after we launch. So 28.6%, more than a quarter of you said, we want to wait and see how things go even after we reopen. 6% of you said 90 days after we launch, of taking that extended period of time. 26.5%, over a quarter of you had responded that you are going to mainly remain virtual. And then 5% of you said virtual only. Now, among those 5% who said virtual only, part of that speaks to what we have been able to do because of our online outreach and our online worship, is we have been attracting new people who have found Newburg Church through our live broadcasts or finding them on YouTube or Facebook Live later on as well. We have had several new page likes to the Newburg Facebook page, and we have now over 100 subscriptions to our YouTube channel. So many of you, a lot of folks who have said they're going to remain virtual only is because they're not in the area, and they found us virtually and they're going to stay that way. But over a quarter of you have said that you're willing to remain virtual for the time being, with occasional coming back to live and in-person worship, depending on the circumstances. So what that means is that over 2/3 of our responses said that it's going to be at least 30 days after we are open before you're ready to come back to worship. So we feel very confident based on your responses and, again, the data that we have of making this decision. And what it is going to help us to do is to bring you the best possible online worship and best possible programming that we feel we can do in a virtual way, but also with some still in-person gatherings that are safe, mostly outdoors, and that will help us to continue to be connected even as we're in a pandemic right now. Some questions that will probably naturally come up also is, well, what about other groups, whether it is smaller committee meetings or other groups that are using the building. And for right now, we are under the same order of groups of 10 people or less can gather in the building, and you can have your meeting. And we do have some outside groups who are doing that, whether it's our TOPS group, our AA group, and the smaller groups. There have been a few of our smaller ministry teams. I use the word committee again. I try not to do that, but it's ingrained in me. Some of our ministry teams have been meeting that way as well, as long as they're able to be safely and social distance, and everyone will need to wear a mask as they come into the building as well. But as things are changing, and they seem to be changing on an individual basis based upon risk tolerance, we will wait for the governor, and we'll wait on the advice of the bishop and our conference chancellor's office to advise us on that. And if there are changes to certain groups and where they can meet, and if that number, for example, goes up to 25, like some anticipate in the month of October or November, we may be able to make some adjustments for some groups, but we will take that on a case-by-case basis and in consultation with our trustees and with our insurance companies as well. We want to do everything as safely as we can, but also do the best that we can to make sure that we're able to continue to meet and connect and provide our vital services. So what that means is we are going to be planning our ministries going forward for adults, for youth, and for children in a mostly virtual way. And we have several things, some of which are already going right now. Our Glimpses of Grace class is happening on Wednesday evenings with Reverend Gasaway. That's taking place via Zoom. Our Jesus for President book study that I'm leading on Thursday nights, several of you have already tuned in for that, and we encourage you to do that on Facebook Live. And our continued online ministries, such as the Monday Minute, which I usually, but sometimes other members of the staff have brought to you on Monday to start our week off with announcements and devotion. We have Saturdays with Mrs. Karen for our children's time on Saturdays. That debuts as well. So we're continuing to do those, but we are also thinking creatively, especially as the months of October and November and December roll in. And we know the weather's going to be getting colder, and so some of our outside gatherings are going to be limited, but we're trying to do some things creatively and in a different way. For right now, Allie and our youth ministry, they're meeting outside, and they're planning to meet outside for as long as they can, and even have some creative ideas of how to perhaps even continue to meet outside going forward. Again, those programs are in development. But this October, we're looking at, rather than doing a trunk or treat, again, just to help minimize exposure, we're looking at doing something for Halloween that will be able to keep people in their cars and also keep them at a safe distance. And so we want you to watch for more information on that. We also want to assure people that we are still planning to do some of our other ministries. As we come into November, I'm sorry, I had a thought. Just a reminder, we are still planning to do our outdoor World Communion service this coming Sunday at 5 p.m. It's going to be a little chillier, we know, but as long as it's not raining, we're still planning to do that. So we want you to come, bundle up, and we can celebrate that together using the World Communion liturgy that we're doing. Moving into November, we will still be doing our kids' Christmas gifts for St. Francis, so we're still going to be in mission that way. Our way that we distribute names is going to be different. Reverend Gasaway is going to be working on that, but we're still going to be in mission and still collecting those for distribution for the kids at St. Francis, as we have continued to do for years. We're still planning on trying to do Thanksgiving dinner in ways that we can do that to pick up. And we also have plans going forward for Advent and Christmas, and I'm going to get into those a little later. But we also have some plans of how we're going to do children's ministry in these fall months here as well. And so I'm going to turn that over to Karen and let her speak about her goals for children's ministry in this time while we're still not going to be meeting in person and what plans she's got coming up.
Well, good evening. Our goals for Christian education haven't changed. The way we approach them has changed a little bit. Our goal is always to keep the children safe and to make sure that they know that God loves them and that God is always with us. Now, we're doing our children's time on Saturdays now with just a short inspirational message that reinforces the point of that even in our rough times, God is always going to be with us. Monthly, the kids have packets that they're getting. This month was a prayer box. That includes a message for the parents about the importance of prayer, and then some different activities that the kids can do with the parent to reinforce the ideas of prayer in a fun way. November will be thankful baskets, and the kids will be doing a mission project along with that. Coming into December, we will start a video Sunday school class, and we'll talk more about that a little bit later. But the children, our main goal is to keep the children safe. And we've been watching, some people have asked about doing Zoom Sunday school, and we have decided that is not in the best interest of our children because there's a lot of liability, and we can control what we say and do, but we can't control what comes across the internet. And we don't want to take any chances of harming our children spiritually or mentally with something that could come across. So we are avoiding the Zoom, but we will do something video-oriented. I don't know what else we have. I mean, we're also trying to make personal contact with the children. The Bible presentation was a lot of fun. The kids enjoyed that. Vacation Bible School was, I thought, one of our funnest, best Vacation Bible Schools that we've had. And that was totally done different. So we can still do things creative and fun in a new way. So.
Yeah. Thanks, Karen. And we'll have some more time to talk about some of those things here, especially coming up for Advent and Christmas in a moment. And there's a few other things that I think are important to point out in addition to all of the opportunities that are going to be happening in the children's ministry section there. And again, making those personal contacts. Reverend Snyder, Reverend Gassaway, myself, we're all still trying to stay connected with individuals and making personal contacts, but also if there are things that we need to know, the church office is open for regular office hours. You can also email any of us to get us any information that we need to know or people that we might need some additional follow-up on. Our ministry is one that is mutual, and so we ask everybody to embrace your ministry and just to alert us if there's anything that needs special attention. A couple other pieces that I think are important to share here as well. Our women's Bible study has continued to meet also on Thursday nights, and actually Rodney had shared that with me just in passing yesterday as we were both heading out the door, but Janice has reminded us too that there is going to be a new women's Bible study group that is going to be branching off from that original group because it's been one of our more successful groups that has really grown. And that's going to be on Thursdays at 3:30 in the meeting starting off in the Asbury Lounge. And so that's, again, another ministry where we've really seen it bear so much fruit, and we thank Janice for her leadership and all of that. So we want to share what those good things that are happening there as well, in addition to other pieces that we know are happening going forward here as well. A couple other questions we can get to here. So, Allie, do we have any others before I get into Advent and Christmas coming up?
So we do have a question from Charlie Wilkinson asking what are the plans for a rummage sale, which I know some of that has gone out, but I'll let you expand on
Yeah, sure.
that.
We've been communicating that through email and through our social media also, but rummage sale is going on right now, as a matter of fact. If you look on the west side parking lot, you will see a series of tents that are set up, and our rummage sale team and Betsy Everett has been leading that and trying to organize a new way to do rummage sale. So rummage sale this week, setup is going on and will take place on Friday and Saturday, and that is all going to be outdoors. And they have a new system that will be set up so that we'll be able to filter people through, make sure that we're at our outdoor capacity of 100 people at all times, and still try to find a way to have conduct our rummage sale safely. So thanks for asking that. We're in need of volunteer help, so if you're able to come by tomorrow or Thursday and help out with the setup, that would be great. I know that that help would be greatly appreciated. If you're able to help with the sale on this weekend, on Friday and Saturday, I know that they would definitely appreciate that as well. And you can contact Betsy Everett for more information on that also. So, are there other questions that we've got here coming in? I see a couple.
Yeah. So first, I just want to remind everyone, if you have a question, you can go ahead and comment in the area that says, "What questions do you have?" And you can just send that on over to us. If you are having a trouble getting to that box, go ahead and just comment it in the comment section where you'd say, "Hey, I'm here," or whatever. But we'll keep going from there, just so you guys know. Our next question is, how is the church doing financially with remote worshiping?
That's a really good question, Janet, and thanks for asking that. The short answer to that is it's a mixed bag. We have, if you look at our overall financial giving, and we just talked about this yesterday at the church council meeting as well, our financial giving is down by about $25,000 compared to where we have been traditionally at this time of year, give or take a few $1,000 here or there, depending on when things come in. The bulk of that is as a result of one-time gifts that usually have come in the early months, usually in the first quarter of the year, January through April, pretty much. Again, when COVID and the pandemic hit, we saw a lot of things that were uncertain. People were uncertain about their jobs. The stock market took a nosedive, as we all know, and we had no idea when it was going to hit bottom or how it was going to recover. And it's our suspicion that things are stabilized now, but that is where the bulk of our deficit is coming from. So we are at about $25,000 beyond that. As we announced a little while ago now, Kevin Canary, our finance chair, announced that we did receive a payroll protection plan loan to help cover costs for our staff, and that really helped us out in the summer months. And so it's put us in a position right now, because of that payroll protection loan, that we are at least in a stable financial position here, but what we have right now is not sustainable. And so we are going to have to make some of that up. Now, with that all being said, because of COVID and that we have not been doing things in person here at the church, we have had a reduced amount of costs as well. So we've been able to reduce our costs by a net total of about $20,000 all told. So if we calculate our deficits and our reduction in costs, plus the amount of money that we traditionally borrow, usually at the first of the year, to help get us through from the expansion fund, I know I'm kind of getting into the weeds here, that leaves us with about $25,000 of free cash to work around. We're going to have to make that up. So this October, we are going to be relaunching a stewardship campaign. We did this back right before COVID, and in fact, we had just finished that series and went to the first Sunday of Lent before COVID hit and shut us down. And so Vision 2020 is going to be brought back at the end of October, and that series will carry us through to the season of Advent. and we'll be focusing on a couple of different things. One will be to reboot 2020 and to help us to examine ourselves and see how we can make up that deficit so that we can sustain our ministries going forward. Excuse me. The other will be to help us have a clear vision for where we are financially, and we know because of COVID, people are in various places. For some, the stock market is recovered if they're relying heavily on their retirement funds and 401k and the like, and maybe things have stabilized. For others who may have lost a job or seen reduced hours, things have not. But we're all trying to see how we can go forward together and to at least start working toward raising our average gift, our average tithe for the coming year. And right now our average, if we were to take the entirety of the congregation, our average giving, we roughly estimate, is about 2.5% of the average annual income for the Livonia and the surrounding area here. If we can double that and get that up to at least 5%, again, remember the goal of tithing is 10%, but if we can start working that towards 5%, we're going to be able to do some good things. And then we're calling it Vision 2020 version 2.1. That's a play on numbers, if you will, to help us focus not only on finishing solid for 2020, but also having a clean slate so that we can start 2021 on a positive note. And so we'll have more to reveal on that in the coming weeks as we get ready to launch that stewardship campaign. The other piece of that, too, is we are still looking, and our Board of Trustees is still looking at doing some capital improvements, which are still needed, especially for when we do come back to in-person worship. So we'll be asking folks to consider how they can help with that, particularly with new windows here in the sanctuary that will be present a brand new and updated look, but also will be much more energy efficient. We're looking at new church sign and other improvements to the exterior. We have renovations that need to happen in Guthrie Hall too as well. So when we get to the overall finances of the church, we're going to make it right now if everything were to stay the same. Giving has stabilized, but we also still want to have vision and we still want to have plans going forward. That's a great question. Okay.
And continuing on that note, are we meeting our apportionment?
Oh, okay. Yep, a good follow-up question there. Right now, we have not made a payment to our conference apportionments at this time. We're not alone in that. Our annual conference session, which was held back in July, gave us a very realistic, I'll just put it that way, prediction from where we are as an annual conference, because churches are in some dire straits and not knowing where things are going. We have been current with paying all of our other obligations. Any of our ministry shares to the Greater Detroit District, those have been paid in a timely manner. Our other contributions to the, it used to be called Ministry Jubilee, the name is escaping me now, Mission Celebration. We have been making those contributions as those have come in as well. We will be, our goal is again to make our final apportionment payments, we're calling them ministry shares now, with our new Michigan conference. And our goal is, as it always is to make those at 100%. If we had to do it right now, we would probably make it at about 50%. So we want to move in and see where things come in the fourth quarter, which is usually our biggest time of the year giving anyway. And we will make our ministry share payments in December and try to fulfill our obligations as best we can. So again, if we had to do it right now, we would probably only be at about 50%. But we're hoping that without any other surprises and then other revenue that would come in here in the fourth quarter, that we can build that up. Excellent question. We're going to have more of that as we start the stewardship campaign in a couple of weeks here as well. But thank you for asking that. Okay,
Awesome.
Any other things before we move on?
Yeah, no. I said yeah, but that's a confusing thing to you. No, there is nothing else that is asked in our chats that we see. If you guys do have questions, feel free to put those in, and we'll be sure to let them up front know what your questions are so you can have those answered. Again, you can do that in the chat or you can do that in the comment area. But with that, we will let you go on the question about Christmas Eve service or just Christmas season, what you're able to tell us.
Okay, yeah, that's our exciting. One of the things that's really going to help us focus as we go into the new year is we are going to be undertaking a congregational-wide study, and it is called Incarnation, and it will begin on November 29th, which is the first Sunday of Advent. Karen is holding up one of our books. This is a brand new study that is coming from Adam Hamilton, our United Methodist guru at Church of the Resurrection in Leawood, Kansas, our largest United Methodist congregation in the country. We have done several of his book studies before, and we've used some of those in sermon worship series. This is new, and he has adapted it for this season now of COVID to be able to be brought virtually as well. So over those 4 weeks of Advent and through Christmas and into Epiphany, through Epiphany Sunday, we'll be examining incarnation and the names that have been ascribed to Jesus and how he fulfills each one of those and brings us hope in this time of year. And we've got some really great material that we're going to be sharing with that. And one of the things that we're excited to do is that this will encompass Sunday morning. It will encompass an adult study that Reverend Gassaway is going to lead, and others will be talking to as well. So we can have several components of that for adult study. There's going to be a youth study component that Allie will be helping to lead with our youth. And there is also a children's study that goes with that. So we're going to be undertaking this from a multi-generational congregation-wide. So from worship to Sunday morning to all of our midweek programming and our youth programming and children's programming, we're going to be covering this so that together as a congregation we'll be looking at this, we'll be looking at how we can have hope and hopefully have a new focus on what the incarnation of Jesus means for all of us going forward. I don't know, Kyle, if we have that graphic up so you can see some of that. It's very well done. There's some great components, so as we participate virtually in a lot of those things, but there will be some in-person pieces there as well. We're not ready to share all of those details yet because we're still working some of those out and making sure how we can do it safely, and everything that we do, of course, is going to be weather permitting moving forward. But we're excited about that from adults to youth, but also for children as well. So, Karen, I don't know if you wanted to share a little bit about the children's aspect of that.
Well, I read the entire thing today, and I was really excited because it'll fit perfect in with our new video series for the children. And then there's a component for the parents to do at home with the children. So it'll be kind of like a mini vacation Bible school, and you'll get a packet, and you'll get to see the video, and then you'll do things at home with your children. So I was really excited. It's done very well. So I'm looking forward to that right now.
Yeah, and those of you who have, and the children, I know our children's ministry covers a broad range. You know, we've got preschoolers all the way up to 5th grade there. And so some of you might have people, some of you parents might have people in multiple programs, whether they're doing the children's study, if they're doing, some could be doing the youth study as well. And we'd really encourage you to participate in that adult study so you could see how everything is crossing along from the children's study all the way on up through the adult study, and then how we address that on our Sunday morning worship times as well. Now there's this, I'm sorry, I cut you off there.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's also very interesting that they do have a component where the younger children, there are special things for the younger children and for the older elementary children. So, and it's the same message all the way across. So I think that's really going to be very helpful at this time for our kids.
Great. Excellent. Keep forgetting to mask up here sometimes, but depending on who's talking. So there was another question, and I want to address that specifically about Christmas Eve and what about Christmas Eve. We are working on a couple of things for the Christmas Eve, not only just for Christmas Eve itself, but also for that week of Christmas as well. We've traditionally done a lot of different things. Hanging to the greens is probably not going to happen. Obviously, we might need some help with doing some sort of decorations. We don't want to totally be Scrooges when it comes to that, but we'll put out those calls where we can do that safely. Our setup here for with the cameras and with worship means that we probably won't have as many decorations on the scale that we did before, but we still are planning to do a lot of those things also. But for Christmas, the week of Christmas and leading up to Christmas Eve, we do have some things in the works and trying to be creative. The Incarnation series has given us a lot of creative ideas for how we can do online worship with that and still remain connected. But I do want to share with you, and again, I won't share all the details, but we are still working them out, but I do want to share with you that we are trying to plan an in-person gathering for Christmas Eve of some type that is safe and social distance. So please look for those details as we get ready to announce them there as well. We've been thinking about this, and we have been trying to find the best ways that we can going forward and trying to be as creative as we can and safe as we can. So something outdoors that will be safe for us, we do have in the works as well for people who will be able to come.
Awesome. And during that, we did have another question come in from Mary Fletcher. Will there be a Do Good Sunday?
Oh, that's a good question. Actually, Allie, you might be best poised to answer that,
Okay.
probably with the components of that. So why don't I let you answer that there?
Yeah, so Do Good Sunday, we're getting very creative with Do Good Sunday. For me, for the youth, I do have a plan that I'm starting to develop. I'm going to solidify, and parents, you will see that in the next few weeks. But I do have a plan for Rake and Run to continue. Those plans, again, will be coming out shortly, so I have all my ducks in a row for you to understand what we're doing. I believe Reverend Gassaway is also planning some ways that if there are projects or ways that he can also allow Do Good Sunday to keep happening in a safe way. And I believe Lynn will also possibly be doing something. I'm not, okay, cool, yeah. So we do have plans to do Good Sunday. It will look probably much different than it has looked. But our goal is to continue serving in every way that we can, just as safely as we can for ourselves, but also for the people that we are serving with and for.
Yeah, thanks. So yeah, we've got some. We're going to have to scale it back. I think is the easiest way to put that. But Rake and Run will try to happen and be different, and we are going to be doing the cards for shut-ins and still working on that. And I think Karen, you were talking about doing some of the similar things with the children as well.
Yes, the children will be doing cards for shut-ins, and they will also be doing thankful cards for hospital workers and emergency EMS workers and things. So they will be doing
That's great.
projects at home that will be dropped back off at the church to be delivered.
That's great.
I did just see one question come through that is for me, Sandy. Am I taking names for Rake and Run? Those actually, that system will still run the same way. Those names will go through Reverend Lynn, and then they will make their way to my hands as I coordinate who goes where. So, thank you.
Okay.
I don't have anything else. So, I'm going to send it back to you.
Nothing else for us over here. Well, and we'll give it a few minutes if folks do have other questions. Those have all been very good questions. And all of those are things, as I said, we're planning to address, some of which we still have plans in the works as we've just really compiled all of our data and are ready to announce that decision this evening. And so that gives us a launch point to go forward and to really get our ministries set in a row. And it's been able to help us to envision what we see happening, particularly for what our normal routines have been, and knowing that some of them are going to have to change, such as Do Good Sunday. Do Good Sunday was starting to undergo a transition as it was already, and so this will just be another part of that transition where we'll still keep, as best we can, our essential services and have to modify some things elsewhere. But it also is helping us to look at what our focus and what our goals are. And one of the things I know Reverend Gassaway was talking about was how we're going to be able to do not only Thanksgiving dinner, but also the gifts for the kids at St. Francis, because Christmas for them is coming no matter what. And we as a church have been a longtime supporter of that, and we want to continue to be. And we worked really hard to find a way to do that, and so we're going to be releasing those details as we get some of the smaller pieces of those perfected also, so that we can still have people get their gifts, but still be able to do it in a safe way, and still be able to meet the needs of our families and of our children, as well as our older adults too. And Pastor Lynn has been doing a phenomenal job, as he always has, in terms of reaching out. And again, we appreciate your help in reaching out to people as well. So please keep all of us as a staff in your prayers. We're all doing the best that we can. We're always open to helpful suggestions. We are on the front lines and working with other churches, other colleagues, trying to find best practices and doing what is best for what is also going to be best here for us at Newburg, which may not be best in a setting at another church as well. So we appreciate all your thoughts and all of your prayers as we go forward. I see we got some more questions coming in. Allie, is that correct? Oh, comments.
We actually have some words of encouragement from all of you awesome people. So from Katie, saying, not a question, just a comment. You guys are all amazing, and I know you've been working hard throughout the pandemic to keep programs running as best as we can, and we appreciate you. And then another one, just wanted to say what a great job you guys are doing, and I know I can say thank you guys for that encouragement.
Yes, yes, thank you. We do appreciate everyone's support. Yeah, and I'll just to follow up on that and say, from the support that we all have. We've got people out in the cold this week as the temperature is suddenly, a switch got flipped and now falls here after Sunday. We got people working out in the cold this week to help make our rummage sale happen. Cold and the rain as we had yesterday, and there might be some more on the way tomorrow as well. We've had people coming in throughout the summer even working, whether it was flood buckets for Midland County, this past week. We've had people making lunches at home for Noah Project. We've had people coming in to help with little projects here around the church, making sure that our rose garden is presentable, because we've had to do a few things outside just to help continue to do our functions of the church. We've had people coming to help make improvements to our memorial garden as well, as that's needed some updating, and especially as more and more people are coming out there just to have a place to come and pray and reflect and still be, quote unquote, on the church grounds. Those ministries that people have been providing have been so important. And the rest of our staff, from Judy in the office to Sandy Fillion, who has been working really hard to make sure that when there are groups in the building, that everything is cleaned and sanitized and ready to go, and also helping to coordinate with these other events that have been happening, rummage sale sorting, getting things ready for this week, and the like. We could not do that all, and we can't do it because this is our church. We unfortunately can't all be together, but it is still our church, and we still are the church. And I think that's always the important thing to remember too. And I know Karen and I were talking about this earlier today too, is that while we may not be physically all present here in the building, the church is not closed. We're still the church wherever we are, and we're still working on equipping one another, as Paul says in the Scriptures, as to Timothy, that we equip the saints. That's all of us, for the work of ministry. And our work of ministry doesn't just happen here. It happens out there, and we've become so keenly aware of that too. But our work of ministry that is happening out there and through our online ministry has helped actually bring people into the Newburg fold, who have found us here to be a welcoming congregation that welcomes and affirms all people and is committed to mission, is committed to service, and is committed to the full inclusion of all people within the church, and particularly in the United Methodist Church. And that's not going to change for the rest of 2020, and that will not change for 2021 going forward. So we thank you for that. Any other comments or questions that have come in? So that's great. Go ahead, Karen.
I just have a very unusual request, and you'll see if you watch Saturdays with Miss Karen why I need it. But if anybody has a picture of their children or of yourself with a dog, please send them to the church. And then in a few weeks, you'll see that the picture of your animal involved in our Saturday morning or Saturdays with Miss Karen.
All right. Do the dog and the children have to be in the same picture?
Well, we always love pictures of the children, but we really need pictures of dogs.
You really need the dog. Okay. Just we're sounding like a Saturday afternoon talk show here now. So, just to say, talking about being innovative here, Livonia Palm, who we've been the host venue for a number of years now, again, we're just having to get creative. We're hearing their music start blaring through our very thin windows here in the sanctuary that we're working on trying to replace, as they're practicing out in the parking lot, still trying to get their things done and be creative. We hope that we can get them back inside. We not only appreciate the revenue, but we appreciate having them here, as they're always willing to contribute as well. But we, of course, want to make sure that we can do it safely and in compliance with all of our policies. But again, more examples of how we're just having to be creative and work through this time. And we really appreciate everyone's prayers and support as we move forward. Want to thank you for tuning in to our town hall meeting tonight. We always look forward to bringing these things to you. This one was especially important as we plot our course going forward for the remainder of 2020. And again, we are always happy to discuss any issues that you have. You can call us here at the church. You can email us. You can check us out on the web. Our contact information is all available there if you do not have it. And we're happy to answer any individual questions going forward. You have about an hour now to prepare yourself for the debates, if that's what you're planning on doing, or if you're planning on watching the baseball playoffs or anything else, which you might be better for, who knows. But either way, we're hoping that you will still actively be engaged in that process. We want everyone, as this election season is coming up, that's a shameless plug for my book, Jesus for President, on Thursdays at 7, but also be engaged. Know what the issues are, and be sure to plan your vote, however you're going to do that, so you can do it safely and to participate in our democracy. It's one of the greatest privileges that we're able to have. So I don't mean to belittle the debates in any way, but everybody takes it as they're able to do that. But we want to make sure that everybody understands the importance of that as well. So thank you all for joining us tonight. Thank you for your prayers and support. And we look forward to bringing you all of these programs and joining with you virtually, and for some of our small in-person gatherings, with our first one coming up again this Sunday for World Communion Sunday at 5 p.m. We hope that you'll join us then. So please join me as we close in a word of prayer. Gracious Lord, we know that you are present with us in all things. And even in the midst of this time of trial, we know that you are with us, walking with us, leading us beside still waters and restoring our soul. So as we prepare ourselves to continue to be your church just in a different way, adjusting our routines and maybe having to let go of some of our traditions, we know and we trust that amidst all things, you are still God. And as we prepare ourselves for the remainder of this fall and for the season of Advent, when we welcome your Son who came into this world, we know that his light is still with us and is incarnate in our lives. This we all pray in his precious name. Amen.
Amen.
I once was lost in darkest night, yet thought I knew the way. The sin that promised joy in life had led me to the grave. I had no hope that you would own a rebel to your will. And if you had not loved me first, I would refuse you still. And hallelujah, all I have is Christ. Hallelujah, Jesus is my life. But as I ran my hell-bound race, indifferent to the cause, you looked upon my helpless state and led me to the cross. And I beheld God's love displayed. You suffered in my place. You bore the wrath reserved for me. Now all I know is grace. Hallelujah, all I have is Christ. Hallelujah, Jesus is my life. He is my life. I'm not my own. I'm not my own. Now, Lord, I would be yours alone and live so all might see the strength to follow your commands could never come from me. Oh, Father, use my ransom life in any way you choose, and let my song forever be my only boast is dark.